When we start our functional movement screen, or FMS, we start with a test that looks at a lot of different things all at once. So when you're looking at the first screen, which is our deep squat, when you're looking at the deep squat, you get to tell whether or not someone moves with pretty good quality right off the bat. The reason for this is because the deep squat demands a lot from the person. So it demands to keep the trunk and upper body actually straight up in the air in extension, while the lower body flexes on itself. So that to the brain is pretty hard to do. It's a really high level motor pattern. So with that, we use the deep squat to start our screening process so we can identify, do these people have, what different track do we need to go down? Because do these people have hip mobility issues, ankle mobility issues, shoulder mobility issues, trunk stability issues? The list can go on and on, but the deep squat is going to give you a little bit of a look into how they might be performing and what exercises might help them right off the bat before we even get to any other screen. So what I'm going to do is have Kyle step in here, and he's going to show us how we do the deep squat. So we're just going to get right into it. We'll kind of explain it as we go. So when we are assessing and we're starting with this deep squat screen, we're going to ask people to identify, hey, does anything feel different left or right side? Do you get pain in the shoulder, the neck, the knee, the hip, the ankle, any pain? You just need to let me know, right? So as long as our person knows, our person who's getting screened, as long as they know to report any type of miscue or anything, then we're off and running. So when we set up for this, we're gonna start them in the 2 position. So as with all our FMS screens, there's a 1 score, a 2 score, and a 3 score, as well as a 0. So a 0 has pain, a 1 doesn't meet the mark in the 2 position, a 2 meets the mark in the 2 position, and a 3 is optimal, meaning they can meet it outside of the 2 position. So let's go through all that. So when we set up, we're gonna set up in the 2 position to start, meaning if they can get a perfect squat from this position, they get a 2. What that looks like is foot straight down, right up, basically below the armpit. So if this pole goes to the inside of the foot, comes up, it should be right into the armpit on each side. We want to make sure the feet are going forward, not out, because we want to make sure we're always testing everyone the same. And then their heel is going to be up on the board, which is going to take the ankle out. From here, we're going to go pull on our head, and we're gonna look for about a 90-degree angle. We're gonna press to the sky, and then we're just gonna walk up, and on my call, we're gonna squat all the way down and all the way back up. So let's have Kyle try it here so we can see a live assessment. So he's gonna start with his feet about shoulder width, so that's a little wide, and I'm gonna grab this from him to check. So we can see that this is a little wider than that armpit. So he's gonna bring it in. Now he's about right on that side, and about right on that side. So I'm gonna go ahead and give him the stick. It's gonna go up to his head. And we can see a nice 90-degree angle right here and a 90-degree angle right here. If their hands are off a little bit, we just move them around. And then from here, he's gonna press to the sky. Now what we're looking for is, does this elbow stay locked out? And when he squats, does the bar stay over his head? Okay, so what I'm gonna have him do, I'm gonna have him squat, go ahead. And come back up. So that's a pretty good squat from Kyle right there. What I'm gonna have him do now is squat down and hold that position at the bottom. Go ahead. So as we can see, this bar comes forward just a little bit. It should be right about back here. So that could indicate a shoulder mobility issue. Okay, but what we're looking at is this trunk, is it in line with the femur? So we can see that he's down pretty far. You can go ahead and come up now. He's down pretty far, and those angles, you can go ahead and relax. Those angles should come close to matching, meaning his torso can actually go a little bit farther forward as long as he can keep his shoulders back. So what he's pretty good at is keeping the torso upright, but the shoulders can't go forward. So if his torso did fall, his arms would be even farther forward. So for him, it's not a perfect 2 yet. So we're looking at more of a 1. So that was the 2 position. He didn't hit it, meaning he goes down and he scores to a 1. The reason being mainly because of the shoulders. Now I'm gonna show you what the 3 position would look like. So go ahead and come forward. So now the 3 position is the exact same setup. So he's gonna square out his feet a little bit, this way. There we go. His feet are pretty good. Same exact setup, but now we're adding the ankle in. So his heel is no longer on that board. So now he's gonna go ahead and press up. And let's watch what happens when he squats here. Okay? Yeah, we can see he has a lot tougher time actually getting into that squat position. Almost falls out of it. One more time for me, Kyle. Good, and if you come up here, we can see where are his feet now. So they actually angled out a little bit. So that's his natural tendency, his natural want is to actually externally rotate. So what does that tell me? We can go ahead and relax. From that squat, tells me that his internal rotation of the hips is not that great. He wants to be externally rotated. Also, when he went from a 2 position to a 3 position, his torso went way forward. That tells me his ankles might not be mobile enough to actually drop into that position. And the 2 position, we saw that his hips were actually able to get to basically parallel, which is what we want. So I'm focusing more on ankles, okay? And then I'm gonna focus on his upper body mobility as well. So this is sort of telling me where to go with the screen. So if he had a perfect squat, he would be a 3. A perfect squat, again, shoulders and arms stay directly above the head. Our torso's upright, or at least in line with our femur, and then we can drop down past 90 degrees and the feet stay in. So that would be a 3, okay? If you get it, if you can't make that, and then you go up onto the FMS kit with your ankles and you hit a perfect squat, that's a 2. If you can't hit the perfect squat with your feet up on the kit, then that's a 1. If there's any pain, low back pain, knee pain, foot pain, anything like that, it's a 0. So once we have him scored out, now we can go through the rest of the screen. We would go to our hurdle step, our inline lunge, and kind of explore what might be kind of ailing him. So for me, I'm gonna make sure I have an ankle mobility test in there, and then a shoulder mobility screen. And we know we have those 2 within our normal screen. So we know we're gonna catch what might be adding up to the kind of reason that he can't hit his overhead deep squat. Now, with him, I can still train knee flexion patterns. And if I can't, it's because I'm finding something elsewhere. But right now he had no pain with that squat. He's just missing the 2 by a little bit. So I can still have him goblet squat. I can have him do step ups, probably lunges, things like that. But I'm definitely not gonna put the weight over his head because he just doesn't have the stability through here or the mobility in the lower body right now. So with that being said, I have a better plan for how I'm gonna train Kyle, and I can use it to do a quick identification for him. Maybe he does 1 overhead deep squat every time he comes into train. I can see how the body's moving that day, and then I can mix up my training plan if needed. So when we're looking at the squat, it gives us a broad overview of ankle mobility, hip mobility, even knee mobility, trunk stability, overhead mobility, and stability all at the same time. So that is really a gross motor control movement. So what it's telling us is when Kyle tries to put it all together, there's too many pieces out of place for him to actually do the entire overhead squat pattern. You may find some athletes who are really at the top of their game can have iffy movement or bad ankles, bad hips, sort of like what we're seeing with Kyle, but they can get past it because of their just raw athleticism. These people are called compensators, right? Now, there is no right or wrong with this. The compensators are more likely to get hurt because they're gonna go all out in their sport, and then they're putting themselves at risk because they're not assessing the little things. Whereas with Kyle, now we know what's going on, what's adding up, we know what direction we need to screen, and then we can make adjustments from there. So really the deep squat is one of those big screens that we use. We start off every assessment with it, and it tells us a ton about the athlete. And again, it's just gonna give us our roadmap for where we're gonna go with the rest of the screen.